Hello everybody, welcome to a video on the Constructive Criticism YouTube channel. I'm Spencer, host of Constructive Criticism and Limited Time Only, two podcasts about getting better at Magic the Gathering. So this week it's Sunday now, and I went to the Game Grid Invitational this weekend instead of the GP in Louisville. Just because it's something that I had qualified for. I went to an open at the Salt Lake City Comic Con that I won to qualify me for this tournament, playing the green-red ramp deck that I had, posted a lot about on our podcast page and things like that. And this week, I finally got to go to this tournament that I had qualified for, and a huge shout-out to Game Grid. I'm even wearing their shirt. Wow! When you're on camera, things are on the other side. But huge shout-out to Game Grid for the tournament this week. Huge... nothing but love for those guys over there and what they were doing for this. So I just want to do a tournament report. I'm going to post this to our YouTube channel, our website, as well as Game Grid's website. I think that what they've done is awesome, and I'm gonna try and do what I can to post as much stuff, including on my limited podcasts, to the website as possible. But let's start with kind of the format of the tournament. So the tournament was 3 rounds of standard, 3 rounds of modern, and then a top 8 Eternal Masters draft. So I had a lot of thoughts going into this tournament. The first thing was I wanted to play a deck that I felt like I could 3-0 standard with really easily. Because of that, it affected what I chose for modern, actually. And let's talk about my standard deck, the deck that I thought that I could 3-0 with, and we'll talk about how I did with it. So I played Green-Red Aetherworks Marvel, a deck that my team had taken to GP Denver? I'm not sure. And that I had had a lot of success with on Moto, and then they had a lot of success on Moto, and it's just a deck that our team, Team Constructive Criticism, had been playing a lot of. So the list that I brought with me to the tournament was 4 Ether, and you can look on the show notes or the notes on both YouTube or on the wherever you're watching to see this deck list. But we have 4 Woodweaver's Puzzleknot, 4 Aetherworks Marvel, 2 Deadlock Trap, 3 Emrakul the Promised End, 3 Ishkanah Grafwidow, 4 Servant of the Conduit, 1 Ulamog the Ceaseless Hunger, 4 Vessel of Nascency, 4 Harness Lightning, 2 Kozilek's Return, 3 Chandra Torch of Defiance, 4 Attune with Ether, 2 Evolving Wilds, 8 Forests, 4 Game Trail, 4 Mountain, and 4 Aether Hub in the main deck. Then we go to the sideboard where we had 2 Tireless Tracker, 1 Ulamog the Ceaseless Hunger, 2 Worldbreaker, 1 Emrakul the Promised End. Actually, this sideboard is wrong. The Emrakul is actually an Evolving Wilds at the tournament. 2 Appetite for the Unnatural, 2 Kozilek's Return, 2 Natural State, and 2 Tears of Valakut. 3 Tears of Valakut, sorry. So, this deck I had been playing a ton of, and I really liked the deck. It feels like something that's in my wheelhouse, and it had what felt like a really good blue-white matchup, a really good aggro matchup, and a really good black-green delirium matchup. All the decks that I expected people to bring, the top decks in the format. I even tested against black-red aggro discard a lot for this tournament, and I didn't actually lose a single game in testing. And I actually thought that would be like a bad matchup for me, so it really solidified my decision in playing this deck at this tournament. I did end up going 3-0. I beat Esper Aggro, Blue-White Flash, and Green-Black Delirium. So, basically 2 blue-white decks, and a Green-Black Delirium deck. So, the decks that I expected to show up, I swept pretty easily. And, I was pretty happy with the performance of the deck overall. I honestly, there's no more tournaments this year with this style of deck, as Emrakul just got banned, but I would highly consider this deck going forward. I don't think, it wouldn't have lost anything if Emrakul hadn't gotten banned, and just kind of really was happy with the deck choice. For Modern, so I had a lot of deck choices going into the tournament, like what would I want to play in a format where I was hoping to 2-1 or 3-0 the first part of the format of this tournament. And so the thoughts I had were Scapeshift, Jund, were the top 2 decks, and then Bant, Eldrazi, and Tron with the other 2. So kind of like this very wide range of decks. I actually was going to play Tron at this tournament until I went to go get the deck from Wasted Games, and Casey Bloodworth yelled at me. He basically threatened to kill me if I played the deck. You can quote me on that. Tell him, you shouldn't threaten people's lives. But he basically wouldn't let me check the deck out. And when I just said, okay, Michael, just check me out something in Modern, I'll play test with it and play it. Michael had just qualified for the Pro Tour with Bant Eldrazi, and he just shipped me the list that he had just qualified for the Pro Tour with. I thought the deck list that I ended up playing was 3 Engineered Explosives, 2 Talisman of Progress, 4 Noble Hierarch, 1 Spell Skite, 4 Eldrazi Sky Spawner, 4 Eldrazi Displacer, 4 Thought-Knot Seer, 4 Reality Smasher, 3 Genre Rope, 1 Dismember, 4 Path to Exile, and 4 Ancient Strings. Then we have 22 lands in the form of 4 Windswept Heath, 1 Breeding Pool, 1 Temple Garden, 1 Plains, 2 Forest, 1 Ghost Quarter, 4 Eldrazi Temple, 4 Cavern Souls, 3 Brushland, and 1 Yavimaya Coast. So I have a lot of thoughts on this deck list. My first thought is there's no way that I wouldn't play the Island, and there's also no way that I wouldn't play the Hallowed Fountain. I think the mana base was terrible in this deck. I wanted completely different lands the entire time I was playing the deck, and I would not recommend this mana base to anyone. I think it was actually terrible the entire time I played the deck. One of the main reasons is because you really want the Forest turn 1 or the Green Source turn 1, but you really want blue-white as your next land because you are playing Noble Hierarch. It might seem like redundant or whatever, but the other thing is if I have a fetch land and Eldrazi Temple into my 3-drops, all of my 3-drops are either if I have a hand of Eldrazi Sky Spawner, Reality Smasher, Eldrazi Displacer, and lands, I actually want the blue-white land more than I want the green land. I want the options to do those things, and I actually just thought this mana base was terrible, and it definitely cost me a game that I could have won had I had an island in my deck, match 1. I also didn't play great with the deck, as I had only played 1 tournament with the deck and then a couple of Cockatrice games, but I definitely think the mana base was incorrect, and I was unhappy with it. Overall, the deck just kind of plays like Bad Jund, which is kind of exactly what you would expect the deck to do. It's got a significantly higher power level overall with a lower card quality. And that's kind of typically true of these rampy mid-rangey decks, is that you give up a lot on card quality for exchange for this very high power level to beat up on the Jundex style deck, the mid-rangey decks later in the format. And this deck is no different. That's exactly what it felt like. If you're into that, this is a great deck choice, but overall, I definitely think that you should adjust the mana base before playing the deck. I went 1-1-1 with the deck. I lost round 1 to Sun and Moon, which is, I think, probably a terrible matchup for you. If I had an island, there actually are sequences that I believe that I could have taken to win. Actually, I think if I had a Hallowed Fountain, I could have won also. I don't know. The matchup's terrible, but overall, I definitely played incorrectly in round 1 to cause me to lose, and my mana base was incorrect, which also caused me to lose. Round 2, I just kind of rolled my opponent with some Thought-Knot Seers, and then round 3, I drew with the person who won the tournament, Brad Maxwell. The deck was fine. It's definitely a good deck. It's one of the top decks in Modern, but I would definitely, looking at other deck lists, I do know that other people are playing that island, and then I would also try and find room for that Hallowed Fountain while playing the deck. My draft, so top 8 draft, I saw so here's the thing. I actually was planning on just drafting whatever was open, and then I saw, I think, a 5th pick Yavimaya Enchantress in the same pack as a Abundant Growth. And in my drafting of Eternal Masters, one of the things that I know is that if you're going to play Enchantress, you have to really, really draft Abundant Growth highly. So because I saw those 2 cards together, I knew that nobody else was planning on doing that. So I went into the green-white Enchantress deck with Abundant Growths. One of the things that I was missing was definitely Armadillo Cloak. But other than that, I had basically everything I needed to do well. And round 1 of the draft, my deck actually turned out really good. You can watch the draft on Game Grid's Twitch channel. I thought my deck was very good. I think it was one of the top 3 decks at the table. I lost to a Ice-Crown Scepter Memory Lapse, where I played incorrectly. And honestly, it just I played incorrectly game 1, where I actually would have won had I just read my cards correctly, because I hadn't done a tournament Masters draft in a long time. And then I lost game 3 to that Ice-Crown Scepter Memory Lapse. But I actually think my deck was very good. I think that most people did not anticipate playing against my style of deck because there was not a lot of enchantment hate. I also know that there wasn't a ton of white drafters around me. I think my deck was a good deck overall. We did split the cash and then played for the product. So I got enough money. I top 8 obviously with my record and had enough money to now I'll be attending GP San Jose. But one of the things that I want to say about the event is just how well it was run. I think that there was basically no problems the entire event. I think that events like this are something that the Utah Magic community should really do what they can to support. I basically think that if you're going to... Basically, I think that every person that went to the PPTQ that day, instead of the open that Game Grid supplied that day, did a disservice to the Utah Magic community. I actually have an anti-shout out to all of you. I think that this tournament was announced long before the PPT schedule was enabled, and Game Haven should be ashamed of themselves for scheduling a PPTQ the same day as this open that was announced. I think that PPTQs have been terrible for Magic, and this is just one of the reasons for it. And yeah, I think that Game Haven and all the players that went to that PPTQ should actually be ashamed. I think that you should support this tournament series that this store is trying to run. And yeah, I have no qualms saying that. And I have a huge shout out to Game Grid for doing everything they can to improve the quality of Magic in Utah. And the tournament was great. I think that Green-Red Marvel was a great deck choice. I think that there were a ton of awesome players there. The Open did get a pretty decent turnout, and I look forward to seeing how the tournament progresses and increases the exposure to Magic in Utah with more tournaments like this. So thank you, Game Grid. Thank you to everybody who helped me test for the event. And yeah, they provided lunch for us. They had awesome coverage with Pro Tour top 8 competitor Aaron Muranaka, Drew Walden, multiple-time Pro Tour competitor, Travis Padilla, who's been to multiple Pro Tours, and Jordan Bird, who's an awesome part of the Utah Magic community. So you can go check out the archive. Go to twitch.tv/play@GameGrid to check that out. Huge shout out to everybody who helped me test. And thank you, everyone, for watching this video. I made enough money to go to GP at San Jose, so hopefully I do well at that tournament and can turn that money into some more money to go to more GP. So thank you, everybody, and we'll see you guys all next time.